overjoyed to be working a problem using those nifty properties of parallel lines cut by a transversal. So we have to think of those angle pairs that I talked about in the PowerPoint that arise when we have parallel lines that are sliced by a transversal, which in this case, we have parallel lines sliced by two transversals, and it's parallel lines sliced by two other parallel lines, which is crazy, right? All right, so here, first of all, I know these two lines are parallel because we have these little markings. Okay, so if you guys see these little arrows mid-line, okay, that means they're parallel. And you have the same amount of arrows on the lines that are parallel. So since both of these have two arrows, it means these two are parallel. And since these two lines have one arrow on each of them, it means these two are parallel. So however many arrows there are tells you the lines that are parallel. Okay, another thing you need to know, the symbol for parallel is this right here. So if you guys ever see this symbol, it means parallel. So like if this was line L and this was line M, say, I could say line L is parallel to line M. That's the shorthand for saying that. Line L is parallel. We use two little parallel lines. They're cute little lines. To M. So if you ever see that notation, that's what it means. It doesn't really matter that I label the lines. I just wanted you guys to see how that should be marked. So using all those angle pairs we talked about when parallel lines are sliced by a transversal, we can find the values of all these missing angles, 1 through 8. Holy hot dog, that's a lot of angles that need to be found, you guys, and we must find them. They deserve the right to know what their angle measure is, right? Okay, so we have to keep in mind all of our angle pairs are congruent. So alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles. Let's see here, corresponding angles. Okay, all of those are congruent. The only one that is not congruent are same side interior angles, and they make the C shape, so same side, C shape. They are supplementary, a lot of S sound. Okay, so everything else is congruent. Some other things to watch out for are things like vertical angles. So we're looking for those X's for our vertical angles, which those are congruent. And we might also use linear pairs, so two angles that are side by side and form a line, which usually those make kind of a T shape, which if you see those linear pairs form a line, which means they add up to be 180 because lines add up to be 180. So we need to be on the lookout for all of that nifty material as we're finding these arrows. Guys, I'm going to put patty paper on this as I show you the different angles so it doesn't get confusing when I've marked my picture like a billion times. Okay, so it really doesn't matter where we start. I could start in a bunch of different ways. If you want to try to go and order the numbers, you can do it that way, or you don't have to. Okay, sometimes it's good to do like what's convenient in the problem. So like here, I have a 50, and look at this. This 8 is right across from the 50. And holy hot dog, do you guys spot the X? Okay, which I'm going to draw it so you guys can see it. There is an X that is formed right here. Do you guys see it? And what kind of angles form at the X? They are vertical angles, so that means that this angle is congruent to this angle. So if this angle is 50, which is hard to see, but that's 50, it means that that angle is congruent to it because they're vertical. Okay, so that means that angle 8 is also 50. So if you guys can spot any of the easy angles like vertical angles, that's really helpful in solving the problem. Okay, so I know that angle 8 is also going to be 50 degrees because it's vertical to this one, and these two are congruent. Okay, so the measure of angle 8 is 50 degrees. Bam. That one's donezo, yes. Okay, and again, I could go lots of different ways. It doesn't really matter. Okay, if you want to go in more numerical order, okay, here, the 1, I need to use either this 50 or this 50 to help me find the 1, which conveniently you can use either of those numbers to get to the 1. Okay, first of all, okay, so ignore this part. Okay, first of all, if I use these two numbers, I'm going to trace over those angles, and let's see what letter it forms, because that will tell me what kind of angle pairs are arising. So I'm going to trace over my angle that's labeled 50, so right here. All right, and then I'm going to trace over angle 1, so this right here. All right, what kind of shape are we seeing? We see an F shape, which means they're corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are congruent. So if this is 50, it means that this one is also 50. So yeah, I know that 1 is also 50 because of corresponding angles. So this is also congruent to 50, which means this one is also 50 degrees. Yay! 2 down, a bajillion to go, right? But the more angles to solve for, the more exciting, right? All right, and again, it helps to go for convenience. So 5 is conveniently right across from 5. So let's kind of see what angle pairs are forming here. So ignore this. All right, I'm going to trace over 5 and 1, and let's see what shape is kind of forming. Oh man, I spot an X. What angle pairs form at the X? Holy hot dog, you guys are so smart. At the X, they are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So I know that angle 5 is going to be congruent to angle 1, so I'll draw my little congruent mark, which means it's also 50 degrees. So many 50 degrees ones. So 5 is also 50 degrees. Say what, right? Say what? Okay, let's see. So I'm kind of working my way around. I'm trying to see if there are any other congruent ones because those are the easiest ones, in my opinion, to figure out. Let's see here. I'm not really seeing any other congruent ones as far as I can tell. Oh, yes, I do. I spot one. All right, so here, I'm going to kind of do this sideways. All right, so I'm going to trace 50 and angle 6. Let's see what happens here. So I'm tracing 50 degrees, this angle that's not numbered, and angle 6. Let's see what remarkable things happen when I trace angle 50 and trace angle 6. What letter's forming? Do you guys see the Z shape? And what types of angle pairs have the Z shape? You guys are so smart. They are alternate interior angles, which means they are congruent. So I also know that 6 is congruent to 50, which means it's also 50. Nifty, right? 50 is nifty. I'm rhyming so much. I should be like Dr. Seuss. All right, so angle 6 is also 50 degrees, which is nifty. Nice. All right, and I'm still looking to see if there are any other congruent ones I can pinpoint right now. No, I think I'm coming up short, so I might have to go a different route now. Okay, so looking here, there's lots of possibilities. Why don't we start with, I don't know, let's start with the 2. We can go kind of in numerical order. Why not? So if I trace the 6 and the 2, which I know angle 6, so that might help me find angle 2. So you can ignore all these previous tracings, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to trace angle 2, which is right here, and I'm going to trace angle 6. Do you guys kind of see that T shape forming right there? If you ever spot the T shape, that means that the 2 angles together will form a line, which means they have to be 180 and are supplementary. So 6 and 2 are supplementary because they form a linear pair. So I'm going to have to do some scratch work to find that out, but the scratch work's the fun part, right? So if they form a little linear pair, that means these 2 have to add to be 180. So the measure of angle 6 plus the measure of angle 2 equals 180. All right, let's solve this thing. And the angle 6 equals 50 degrees. So I'm going to drop that down. That's 50 degrees. Okay, I'm trying to solve angle 2, so I don't know yet, equals 180 degrees. All right, to get 2 by itself, the measure of angle 2, I need to bring 50 to the other side, which the way I do that is by subtracting 50 on both sides. Which 50 minus 50 cancels and turns to 0. 180 minus 50 gives me 130. Okay, so the measure of angle 2 equals 130 degrees. Bam. All right, you guys, so I already know the measure of angle 2. It is now 130 degrees. Nice. All right, and let's see, can I use angle 2 to help me find another angle? I can, which you kind of have to look around. I can actually use it in 2 spots. So if you see here, the 2 and the 4, I'm going to trace over those and see what shape will form. And again, ignore all those. All right, so the measure of angle 2 is right here. And I'm also going to trace over angle 4. What letter is forming? Holy hot dog, you guys are too cool for school, man. All right, so these 2 form the Z shape. And what kind of angles make the Z shape? They are alternate interior angles, which means they're congruent. The only ones that are not congruent are same side interior angles, which are supplementary. Okay, so if that's 130, it means that 2 and 4 are congruent. Okay, which I'm going to put 2 lines on these so I know the difference. Okay, so 2 and 4 are congruent, so if that's 130, that means this one is also 130. Holy hot dog, am I right? Am I right? Alright, so I need to find 7, and I need to find 3. Well, 3, I think I spot a special type of angle pair. Let me trace the 4 and 3 and see what magical things happen. Alright, angle 4 is right here, and angle 3 is right here. What do they form? They form the X. And what angles make the X shape? They are vertical angles, you guys, and vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so that means this bad boy is congruent to angle 4, which means it's also 130 degrees. Nice. Alright, and lastly, we need to find 7. Okay, and guess what, you guys? There's an angle that actually is congruent to angle 7 in my picture. Okay, I'm going to trace angle 2 and angle 7 and see what nifty shape forms. Alright, I'm going to ignore all these. I'm sorry, I know it's getting a little crowded. Alright, so I'm going to trace angle 7. And angle 2. This one's kind of weird. Do you guys see any letter kind of forming? It kind of looks like an S. Still kind of looks like an S. If I flip it over, it kind of looks like a Z shape. Guys, so these 2 right here, which I'll draw on this final one so you can see it a little better. This one kind of makes that Z shape. What angle pairs make the Z shape? It is alternate interior angles. I don't even know why I teach you guys. You're so smart. Okay, so 7 is congruent to 2, which means it's also 130 degrees. Holy hot dog, you guys. We found all the angle measures, and this is not the only way you could find it. There are like a bazillion different ways you could have gone about doing this problem. Okay, so if you solved it a different way and still got these answers, then go for it. Okay, whatever way you need to do to solve is fine by me. Alright, so these are our final answers. Wasn't it so much fun using our nifty angle pairs to find all the angles in this picture? It was like the coolest fun activity ever. It was like the coolest parallel line cut by a transversal party I've ever seen in my life. So I hope you guys had a blast just as I did.